to the stage, Jon Foy.
Thanks for sticking around. Wow. Well, we've got a couple people from the film here. Justin Duerr, would you like to come up? And Justin Duerr brought his art here, and he's going to be selling it. So if you'd like to talk to him about that, you can find him around the theater or somewhere, and I would encourage you to check it out. I guess let's open up the floor to questions.
Yes, right here.
It's a really compelling movie, and it was fascinating to watch a movie about something you're not really, it's a great Sundance experience. What struck me about the movie was the editing was phenomenal, and I think, clearly you had a lot of material, given the time span. Can you talk a little bit about the editing process?
Thank you for the kind words. This means so much to me. I mean, we hardly showed anyone this movie, and this is the 4th time that we've shown it, so it's only 4 days now. But I've been a real filmmaker. Before that, I was a house cleaner who was a recluse in making this crazy project. The question was about the editing. Yeah, well, this took 5.5 years, and most of the investigation unfolds 2005 and 6, and I think into early 2007. And so we probably got about 200 hours worth of material. This is really interesting. I knew early on that I kind of wanted to make a movie that reflected how we felt about the tiles, which is, it felt kind of magical. I mean, I know that sounds cheesy, but it felt like magical realism. It felt like we stepped into a whole other world where like crazy things could happen. Coincidences and things like that were commonplace. And so I wanted to make a movie that everything in the movie is true, but it felt like it's not true. It felt cinematic, like you stepped into a fictional story, which is kind of the opposite of what I see a lot of movies doing these days, where they're fictional stories presented with, as found footage with a home video camera, as if they're true. And so that was kind of the thinking behind that. As far as the editing, I don't know. I mean, I had taken some screenplay classes at a community college, and I knew the 3-act structure and things like that. But mostly, I grew up with these wonderful kind of fantastical movies of my childhood. Like the early Tim Burton stuff and Spielberg stuff and Star Wars and things like that. So I knew I wanted something with a big, fantastical score and things like that. I should say also that I learned to write. To compose so that I could write the film music for this movie, because I wanted it to be, I wanted it to have that kind of cinematic feel. So, it's so, I was just looking over to Steve and saying how unreal it is to hear this music in the theater, because I'm so used to it on my little computer speakers. And, I don't know. But thank you though.
Yeah, so the yellow back. Yeah.
I really enjoyed the film. It was wonderful. But I have a question about the subject of the film, the title, because I'm not a psychiatrist, but it seems quite likely that the suffering from paranoid schizophrenia, which seems to be a conclusion is up to us coming to towards the end of the film. And there's this moment in the film where it seems as if maybe you had the realization that bringing a film crew and all the neighbors out into the street might not be the best thing for a paranoid schizophrenic. And I'm just wondering, and I mean, people are laughing, but it's really not funny. And I think the first film actually highlights the problems of mental illness, showing them in conjunction with visual scenes. And so I'm just wondering about your thoughts about, it seems, I enjoyed the film, but I also felt like it was potentially somewhat exploitive of this individual's mental illness.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, the question is about the Tyler, and we don't know. To answer your question, we don't know anything for sure. I mean, pretty much what we know is in the movie, so what we do. And we were a fan of the product of what he was doing, and I guess the film takes that point of view that regardless of how it got to that we take it seriously. I like to think that we're not exploitative or condescending, that we feel like caught up in it and a part of it, and we take his stuff seriously. As far as his condition, I don't really feel like it would be right to speculate in the movie or in public about that. I really actually don't know anything about that. As far as including that and making this movie about it, I mean, this is something that we talk a lot about. Every day we talk a lot about at length. And when we started off shooting this movie, I had actually dropped out of film school, and I moved all my stuff. I piled it into a car, and I drove from Texas to Philadelphia and said, we're going to shoot this movie, it's going to be great. And as soon as I arrived, I said, what in God's name was I was thinking? There were these things in the road, and I think it's going to be a movie? And when we started investigating, we didn't know what we were going to find. I mean, we were just going to this blind. And the fact that we found anything was really pretty amazing. And as we started finding out more, we started backing off. We started kind of realizing that it's actually, like, as things started coming to focus, we realized, oh my God, this is actually, at least one person and, a private person. And so as that started happening, we started backing off, and then the question was, what do we do with all this material? And we're several years into shooting. Do we pull the plug on the film? I mean, we talked about that. How do we present it? And there's no easy answer, because people come to us and say, you guys went too far. You guys, you crossed the line. And other people say, you guys didn't go far enough. You should have tried harder. You should have, and people have been saying both of those pretty consistently to us. I guess all I could say is that we did the best we could, and I guess you all can judge, what we did and what we should have done. But we made a decision to just put everything in as we discovered it in real time, and let everyone kind of judge us the way that we did it. We hope that we did the right thing. That was always something on our mind. We hope that you don't consider it to be, like the person who asked the question said. But I think that what people don't realize about filmmaking, especially on this level, just kind of on your own dime in obscurity, is that you're very much captive to circumstance as well. You're not in control of everything, and you don't always have all of the answers. But we did feel that it was a public enough story, that this person had mounted a public campaign. They sent out press releases. They, engraved their address in public and encouraged people to write, and did all these things. And so we felt like pulling the plug on the project itself was a little extreme. But how do you navigate from there? I don't know.
Yes,
I have two comments and a question. One, I don't think the movie's about the Tyler. I think it's about you guys.
Yeah.
And also the music totally makes the movie. Congratulations. But my question is, I wish, the only thing missing from the movie is an explanation of physically how do you believe the tiles were made and the different color letters. That was a big thing in my head. I really wanted to know that, what your theory or your research showed on how the actual construction happened.
And how they melted in the pavement, how that actually works.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, thank you for your kind words. It feels great to hear things like that. And the question is about the actual physical making of the tiles. There was a scene that got cut that explained this stuff in detail, but that was a mistake. I was wanting to cut it. It just felt like the film was too long. Yeah. Justin, do you want to take this one?
Sure, I'll take it. This cord's a little short. I don't want to pull the cord out of the wall. That'd be something I'd do. So the question was about the actual, how the tiles are made and actually set up the asphalt. Well, it's interesting because asphalt is actually a liquid. I mean, if it gets hot enough, well, it's like peanut butter. They call it plasma. It becomes plasmic when it gets hot enough. And if you're in the middle of the summer, if you're ever walking around in a city and you look down at your feet, you'll see like a penny embedded in the asphalt, or a little piece of a doll's arm, or like any number of things, And I think, I mean, this is just speculation on my part, but I imagine that the original artist, that was probably walking around and seeing that stuff, and after a while you just start to think, okay, well, you see tile mosaics, and they take their little pieces of tile and they set them into I don't know what, concrete or whatever it is, and same idea, you lay your tile, it's like a floor tile, but you need to use linoleum because it's a little bit more malleable than vinyl floor tile, which will just shatter when the car tires hit it. And then like you see when I see the fresh tile in the movie, you cover it over with tar paper. That shields a little bit of the weight of the car tires so it doesn't shatter, and also disguises it for a while until it's finally embedded in, because it takes a while. The pressure of the car tires hitting it pushes it into the somewhat liquid asphalt, and also the heat of the sun sort of bakes it in there. And once you've done that, I mean, some of these tiles in Philly, the tile itself has been there for 20 years. Or, I mean, that's the strength of this stuff beyond a lot of other forms of graffiti, is that it's incredibly permanent. It's like you put this thing down, and unless somebody paves over it, I mean, it could be there indefinitely, 30 years. I don't know how long would one last, theoretically, but I know there's one in Philly that I think's been there since the 80s. You can only see the part that says Toyn at this point, but only because part's been paved over. I mean, so I hope that answers the question.
Now, do you think they cut out the different color letters and inserted them, or was the color behind?
Yeah, the question was, do you think they cut out the different color letters, or was the color behind? It really is like a mosaic process. As far as all the tiles that I've seen and stuff, it looks like, if you see an actual tile mosaic of another sort, it's the same idea. Like, probably you'd cut out your first initial, set, and then trace it with a pencil or something, and then use that to cut out the letters that would take up the negative space. And then they make tiles in all different colors, so you can get creative with it. And and some of the tiles get pretty creative. They come up fast in the movie, but there's ones with sexy lady legs, and there's ones with coffee cups, and and some of the newer tile culprits that we speculate. There's a lot of people with this now. Have been going even further with that and just making pictures and whatnot. So.
I wanted to tell you this reminds me of another documentary entitled Jupiter's Wife, based on the life story of a woman who was, she was clinically bipolar, manic depressive, and schizophrenic, and lived in Central Park. And I would say, don't shoot the messenger, because everybody somehow delivers messages to mankind, and the message reminds me back as far back as the Egyptians living in this kind of life. So I think it was very interesting also that it's a story about investigative journalism, and hats off to all the people who are getting up, because even though you probably surmised the truth as you went on, you pursued it to the total fulfillment of the story. So you really gave us a treasure.
Thanks so much for those kind words. Yeah, Jupiter comes up a lot. Yeah, but I haven't heard of that one.
I guess wasn't, I guess wasn't completely a question, but she was just she started off her statement. She said, "Don't shoot the messenger," and that what was the name of the other documentary?
The other documentary is Jupiter's Wife.
Okay.
About a woman's life in Central Park.
Okay, yeah, a documentary called Jupiter's Wife about a woman's life in Central Park. I haven't seen it, but anyway, she brought up the point that the actual ideas on the tiles and stuff are I don't remember your exact wording, but some pretty basic ideas that the human species has been exploring for all of our history on the planet. I'm sure as far back as we could form these kind of abstract thoughts about deities and whatever, and that's absolutely true. And I think that I don't know, I'm no academic or anything, but I do feel that there is some validity to that, and that I told somebody in another Q&A that my only hope is that if the actual message of the tiles really catches on with a lot of people, that I just hope that there are never any violent wars waged in the name of it. Other than that,
Yes.
Yeah, my question was, what's the status of the tiles now? Justin was talking about the fact that they're pretty resilient, but roads do get paved over, and they seem to be a very interesting art form. I wonder if there's any attempt to preserve them in the various cities.
There has been no attempt, although we've talked about it. The first tile in the movie, the one that Justin sees when he's 16, that one was in the road in South Street until I think about a year and a half ago, and we were very worried because we thought it would. We kind of saw the construction going down the road, and unfortunately it was taken. Steve?
The city of Chicago actively destroyed any tiles that they found. They used Toynbee.net and ground them down, and we got a statement from their streets director that they destroyed them. It seems like something similar happened in New York, because they suddenly all disappeared in New York City. There are a couple of people in Pittsburgh that don't really have any support, but they want to preserve the tiles. Pittsburgh has some of the oldest, nicest ones that still exist. And there has been talk on our message board about trying to preserve them, but don't know.
And the last question, the woman in the white. Yeah, I'm just wondering how you guys met, how Justin met. How did you find it?
Oh my God. Well, the short answer is we know each other. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, this is a question about how we all met. God, the short answer is we know each other through the music scene. But Justin and I met through a prank phone call, actually, back in the summer of 2000. I had known of the tiles and I knew his roommate, and we were pranking his roommate with a robot message. A robot delivered the prank, and Justin mistakenly received it and thought that it was actually the Tyler calling. Was immersed in the mystery even back in 2000, and so I found out about this and I introduced myself to Justin and apologized, and I had thought that it would be obvious that it was a prank. And then Justin started pulling out his photographs, much like in the beginning of the film, and started showing me and telling me all these things. And I said, oh my God, we're going to make a movie about this someday. And then about 5 years later, I was in film school, and I dropped out of school and piled all my stuff into a car and moved to Philadelphia, and we started shooting. And then 5.5 years later, here we are. So it's been very convoluted. But that's how I met Justin. Colin and I were long-time friends, also through the music scene, and roommates. And Colin and I both produced this film, so he's not just on screen, but he also has had a huge hand in just kind of overseeing it. Steve we met pretty much like you see in the movie through, he had written us emails, yeah, and we said, well, let's meet up. And it was kind of a fun moment. Yeah. Thank you so much. A couple quick things. Yeah, Justin has artwork for sale. You can follow the ongoing stuff on resurrectdead.com. There's a message board. We haven't had the resources to get a really super slick site together, but there's something up there right now if you want to check it out. And we're doing fundraising online since I'm still kind of a house cleaner. I guess I'm unemployed now, but just trying to get us through this kind of bottleneck to see what happens. But it's been really amazing, and I don't know, the Sundance thing has just turned my life around, and I don't know what to say except thank you.